Welcome back to Sinister Findings, where we delve into the darkest corners of the world to uncover the most chilling tales. Tonight, we bring you a story that will send shivers down your spine. This is The Ghost Bus of Gyeonggi, a Night of Terror. In the quiet, rural stretches of Gyeonggi Province, South Korea, an eerie legend passed through generations like an ominous whisper in the wind. Locals spoke of it only in the safety of daylight, for it was the tale of the ghost bus, a spectral vehicle said to haunt the desolate roads near an abandoned amusement park on the outskirts of the city. The legend told of a bus that once transported children to the amusement park. One tragic day, an accident claimed the lives of everyone on board. Since then, the ghost bus was said to appear on foggy nights, collecting the unwary and lost souls wandering too close to the park. It was a chilly autumn evening when a group of friends, Jin, Minji, and Hwan, decided to put the legend to the test. They were skeptics, thrill-seekers who dismissed the tales as nothing more than local folklore. Armed with flashlights, cameras, and a sense of adventure, they set out towards the forsaken amusement park, eager to debunk the myth. The road to the park was long and winding, flanked by dense, dark woods that seemed to swallow the light of their headlights. As they neared their destination, the air grew noticeably colder, and an unsettling stillness settled around them. The usual nighttime chorus of crickets and frogs was absent, replaced by an oppressive silence. Even the wind seemed to die, leaving the night air thick and heavy with anticipation. They parked their car at the entrance, a rusted gate hanging askew on its hinges. The park beyond was barely visible in the dim light of their flashlights. The friends hesitated, feeling an unexpected chill that had nothing to do with the weather. The entrance sign, once welcoming visitors with bright colors and cheerful letters, now hung crookedly, its paint chipped and faded. The words "Welcome to Fantasyland" seemed more like a mocking reminder of the park's long-lost glory. Jin, the most adventurous of the group, pushed open the creaking gate. "Let's do this," he said, trying to sound confident. Minji and Hwan exchanged nervous glances but followed him inside. The ground crunched under their feet, covered in a thick layer of dead leaves and debris. The path led them deeper into the park, where the remnants of rides and attractions stood like forgotten monuments. The Ferris wheel, once the crown jewel of the park, loomed ahead. Its skeletal structure cast long, eerie shadows in the moonlight. The seats, dangling like pendulums, creaked with every gust of wind. The friends shined their flashlights upward, illuminating the rusted metal that groaned as if mourning its former grandeur. The wheel hadn't spun in years, yet as they stared, a sudden gust of wind made it creak ominously, sending a shiver down their spines. Nearby, the carousel stood still, its once vibrant horses now pale and chipped. Some were missing heads or limbs, adding to the sense of decay and abandonment. As they approached, they noticed a layer of dust covering the ride, undisturbed for what seemed like ages. Jin brushed his hand across one of the horses, leaving a clean streak. "Look at this place," he murmured. "It's like a ghost town." As they explored, Minji felt a growing unease. The air was thick with a sense of anticipation, as if the park itself was watching them. "Maybe we should go back," she suggested, her voice trembling slightly. But before anyone could respond, a low rumble echoed through the night. The sound was faint at first, like distant thunder, but it grew louder, more distinct, a mechanical growl that seemed to come from the very ground beneath them. The friends turned towards the source of the noise, their flashlights shaking. Through the dense fog that had begun to roll in, they saw it, a pair of headlights cutting through the darkness. Jin's heart pounded in his chest. "No way," he whispered, unable to tear his eyes away. The ghost bus, an old decrepit vehicle, emerged from the fog. Its once white paint was now a sickly yellow, peeling away in large chunks. The windows were shattered, and the headlights flickered erratically, casting an eerie glow on the ground. The bus seemed to materialize from the mist, its engine purring with an unnatural vitality. The bus rolled to a stop in front of them, the air filled with the acrid smell of burning oil. The doors creaked open with a loud hiss, revealing the dark interior. The friends exchanged terrified glances. The inside of the bus was dimly lit by a few flickering lights, revealing rows of empty seats covered in dust. The seats were torn and worn, with stuffing spilling out. The air inside was cold, and the musty smell of decay wafted out, making them gag. Hwan, usually the most rational, felt a cold sweat break out on his forehead. "This can't be happening," he muttered, but against their better judgment, curiosity won over fear. They climbed aboard, the steps creaking under their weight. Once inside, the atmosphere was even more oppressive. The bus's interior seemed to close in around them, the air thick and stale. The door slammed shut behind them with a finality that made Minji jump. The friends took hesitant steps down the aisle, their footsteps echoing in the empty space. The seats were arranged haphazardly, some facing backward, others sideways, as if the bus had been through a storm. As they moved deeper into the bus, the temperature dropped further. Jin rubbed his arms, trying to warm himself. "It's freezing in here," he said, his breath visible in the cold air. The bus suddenly lurched forward, causing them to stumble. The engine roared to life, and without a driver, the vehicle began to move. Panic set in as the bus picked up speed. The friends clung to the seats, their hearts racing. The windows offered a view of the night outside, but everything was a blur. The landscape rushed past, twisted trees, abandoned buildings, and shadowy figures that seemed to reach out towards the bus. The darkness outside felt alive, pressing against the glass, trying to get in. The whispers started softly at first, a barely audible murmur that seemed to come from all around them. As the bus sped on, the voices grew louder, more distinct. They spoke in hushed tones, recounting tales of tragedy and despair. "Help us, we can't escape. We were just kids. They never found us." Minji's eyes widened in terror. "Do you hear that?" she asked, her voice trembling. The others nodded, their faces pale. The voices were like a chorus of lost souls, trapped and yearning for release. The friends looked at each other, the same thought crossing their minds. They had to get off this bus. Hwan moved towards the front, trying to find a way to stop the vehicle. But there was no driver, no controls, just a cold, empty seat. He banged on the door, but it wouldn't budge. "We're trapped," he said, his voice rising in panic. "We need to get out of here." As they neared a sharp bend, the bus suddenly screeched to a halt, throwing them forward. They looked out the windows and saw a figure standing in the middle of the road. It was a woman, her long hair billowing in the wind. She wore a white dress, stained with dirt and grime, and her skin was deathly pale. Her eyes were hollow, empty voids that seemed to pierce through them. The woman raised a hand, beckoning them. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. The whispers inside the bus grew louder, more frantic, urging them to join her. "Come with us." Hwan pounded on the door with renewed desperation. "Open up, let us out." But the door remained firmly shut. The woman outside moved closer, her movements slow and deliberate. The friends could see her more clearly now. Her face was expressionless, but her eyes were filled with a deep, haunting sadness. Jin, adrenaline coursing through his veins, kicked at the door with all his strength. The metal groaned but held firm. The woman was almost at the door now, her hand reaching out towards them. The whispers crescendoed, a cacophony of desperate voices. "Join us." In a final, desperate act, Jin kicked the door one last time. It flew open with a loud crash, and the friends tumbled out onto the cold, hard ground. They scrambled to their feet and ran, not daring to look back. The woman's mournful wails echoed behind them, mingling with the fading whispers from the bus. They ran through the dark, twisted woods, the branches clawing at their clothes and skin. The only sounds were their labored breathing and the pounding of their hearts. It felt like hours before they finally saw the city lights in the distance, a beacon of safety and normalcy. Breathless and shaken, they stumbled into the nearest street, collapsing onto the pavement. They looked at each other, their faces pale and drawn. No one spoke for a long time, the weight of what they'd experienced hanging heavily in the air. Finally, Jin broke the silence. "We can't tell anyone about this," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The others nodded in agreement. Some things were better left unsaid, buried in the dark corners of memory. But the legend of the ghost bus lived on, whispered among locals and thrill-seekers alike. Some nights, when the fog rolled in thick and heavy, people claimed to hear the distant rumble of an engine and see the ghostly outline of a bus, waiting to collect the next unwary souls. Thank you for joining us on this spine-chilling journey into the unknown. The legend of the ghost bus of Gyeonggi is a reminder that some mysteries are best left unexplored. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest sinister findings. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, some roads are better left untraveled.